Dolphins, of course, took Skylar Thompson before the 49ers took Brock Purdy, I guess because on top of it, Skylar Thompson adds the benefit of being a 37-year-old rookie. So, you not only drafted a guy who wasn't very good in college, but, he's got a very limited future because he's about to start collecting Social Security.
Yeah. A few picks later, the 49ers grab a guy that's leading them to the Super Bowl with a flawless record. And so far has looked as polished as Tom Brady and his, I don't
we'll
mean
get
to
into this with the big board, but there is a lot of just this whole NFC Championship, AFC Championship weekend is just a big kick in the balls to Miami Dolphins fans. There's a lot of that going on in these two games.
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
How's his ankle, Lubie? Anybody know? That'll be the big story. I mean, for the next couple of weeks, Patrick Mahomes and whether or not his ankle is going to be good to go. Good morning, everybody. Good to be with you here on this fine Tuesday, the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, and what had to be just an absolutely, wild day for Mike Lubitz yesterday. We had to blow off the Mike Mayo lunchbox because of Lubie's need to attend to his lovely wife, Shirley, who was in what turned out, I guess, to be a fender bender, 595 in the turnpike. What was the story on that, Lubie? And is she okay?
She's fine. Yes, it was a slight fender bender, but we were being precautious. She doesn't drive a lot these days, and she was heading down to Miami, and someone wasn't paying attention. She's going from Turnpike to 595, and boom. And she rocked back, hit her head a little. So,
oh, geez.
Just make sure she went to the doctor. She's okay. She's a little sore. Everyone was curious, so I appreciate the.
Did you call her, man? Jared Spingarn, man?
We haven't reached out to an attorney yet. That's not my first move. But maybe she'll reach to someone. I don't know. I know.
Did the other woman have insurance at least?
Yes, had insurance.
Oh, wow. You're way ahead of the game. What are you talking about?
Understood the process.
That's a miracle.
She's the one that's miracle. Stand here. The cops will be coming. She's like, how often do you do this? But the lady, she didn't run. They took responsibility for everything. It was her fault. And Shirley's okay. Okay. I appreciate it. Sorry, there was no lunchbox. We will have it the rest of this week, and we'll be out and about most of this week. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah. You were in line for some good food there at Shenanigans. That was going to be a good time there with Mike Mayo. We'll be on the road Wednesday, Thursday, Friday with the lunchbox. Although, did you see these threatening comments?
Yeah, what's going on?
What's going on with Mayo? I'm afraid I'm going to get stabbed on the set there at Gulfstream Park. I hope their security is willing to, lend us a few extra personnel to guard the lunchbox set there.
Why he's so weird about because we always get a little political, but we have fun with it. And he doesn't do it at all on that show.
Yeah.
And you know why? Because really, it's like Jordan. Both sides do get highly involved in Let's Eat South Florida, and they're very passionate.
Apparently, the Oath Keepers are interested in, what's on the appetizer menu at the Cafe Max. Ever seen a bunch of skinheads in a restaurant like that? No, it's not like you're going to Evelyn's and you're going to see that guys in the outlaw jackets that we saw at Flossie's. But what happened there? Some guy got a hair up his ass about Mayo, and he was sending all kinds of texts. I don't know that I fully comprehended what was going on there. Was it because he denied the guy a chance on Let's Eat South Florida to ask, what's your favorite peanut butter brand?
It wasn't even Mayo. Mayo's like, I'm not the only person who handles it.
He is the face of the franchise.
It's fine. Like he owns it. He doesn't
He's
fight.
Aaron Judge, when it comes to Let's Eat South Florida.
I don't even know who this guy is.
Very threatening. I would have turned that stuff over to the FBI, wouldn't you? I'm coming to get you. I'll be at Gulfstream.
Then you look at his Facebook, and he has literally the memes about what's wrong with an Air-15. What's bad about an Air-15? You really could use two. It's like, oh. Okay.
Yeah, he's got an AR-15. He's wearing a turban, and he's like a Jew from Brooklyn. This guy. I don't want to talk about him either because
you can find out.
Scratch all of that. Can you please redact that from the record, please? Just get that out of here. All right, let's get serious here on the show because we haven't talked about enough serious sports topics of late. Now, Jim Sarney, who is always coming up with ideas, but he sent me a picture yesterday that was absolutely shocking. Never mind this stuff, about the threats against Mike Mayo. This was a shocker, Lubie. And the soft spot in our hearts that we have for the fat guy in sports.
Oh, yeah.
We love the fat guy in sports, the guy that's totally out of shape,
Yep.
the guy that looks like he's never taken an athletic step in his life, and yet somehow is good enough to be a professional and a top-level professional in any given sport. Now, we see it with coaches, and it's come to be true. In fact, I remember writing an editorial about how when coaches lose a lot of weight, they lose all of their swagger. They lose all of the impetus that they can provide to motivate a team for some reason. It happened with Tony Sperano, right? He goes 11-5 with Chad Pennington, who had he really probably was less effective throwing a football than a one-armed man in The Fugitive, this guy. I mean, a pop gun arm, couldn't throw the ball 20 yards down the field, zero velocity. That thing was floating up there like a Zeppelin when Pennington was throwing the ball. Sperano was never known, I don't think, as any genius offensive coordinator. He was an offensive line coach, of some distinction, I guess. He came back, I think. He got an OC job with the Jets, which only the Jets would hire a guy, and it was going for field goals on 4th and an inch from his own goal line when he was trailing by 14. And opted to go for the field goal. And then what we're telling you after the game, the field goal was a prudent play. You can't leave that situation with no points. And may he rest in peace, Tony Sperano. But all of a sudden, he started running stairs and he was eating salads. And he dropped like a whole ton of weight. He went from being he wasn't like overwhelmingly fat, but he had a little bit of a gut. And then all of a sudden, he's a slender guy. He's fit as a fiddle. Looked like he had the bariatric surgery. And he sucked after that. Couldn't win a game. Unbelievable. Same thing happened to Rex Ryan, right? Rex, big, fat, boisterous guy. I don't know. Did he have the surgery, Rex Ryan? I don't think he dropped that weight on his own. Remember he slimmed down for a while? He's back up to being fat again, so maybe he never had the surgery.
He had something.
He had something done. A little nip and tuck. But anyway, he went from being a big, rotund guy to, being somewhat reasonably built. And couldn't win a game, right? You had Mark Sanchez. You had Mike Tannenbaum. It was a disaster. Couldn't win with Gino. He's fixing fights so that and arranging fights so that his team would be mad at each other. Just ridiculous. He lost his mind. Lost his belly. Lost his mind. All right, so who was our favorite player in Major League Baseball last year, Levy? Do you remember? New York Mets. I'll give you a hint. Mets. Daniel Vogelbach. All right. What do you think happened to Vogelbach during the offseason? Now, Vogelbach was, it wasn't like he was a monster. This guy wasn't going to make you forget about Tony Gwynn, a left-handed hitter, in terms of average. But there are people in the game that were very highly complimentary of Vogelbach as a hitter. Now, he maybe didn't have enough plate appearances to develop that kind of consistency, but I want to say he was hitting like around 261 or something for the Mets. He came to the Mets. He was hot. And then I think he tailed off. But I'm not sure what his final stats were for last year. But he was huge. Huge. I mean, Terry Forster type huge. Kiridesh Effie Barnrat type huge. I mean, by the standard of the game, humongous. I mean, you can't find a word that can possibly describe the overwhelming amount of weight that these guys were carrying compared to everybody else. So Vogelbach now has trimmed down. Sarni sends me a picture of Daniel Vogelbach, and literally, he looks like the Splendid Splinter, man. He looks like Ted Williams all of a sudden.
No, it's not good.
No, I mean, you would have to think that this guy is going to completely fall apart. Now, I go back. It's funny, too, because now the guy would be like just in line with everybody else. But I remember when Sherman Plunkett was one of my favorite players with the New York Jets. Of course, he was a very good player, Sherman Plunkett. Did Sherman Plunkett ever make it into the Hall of Fame, the NFL Hall of Fame? That's a good question, Libby. Sherman Plunkett, was he a Hall of Famer? Now, you Jet fans from back in the day, which back in the day goes all the way back to like 1969, the last time they had a meaningful game, you would remember Sherman Plunkett as being part of a very, very in sync and effective and impactful offensive line. They had a good offensive line. They ran the ball well with Snell and Boozer. They protected, obviously, Joe Namath couldn't move. So they protected very well for Namath, who did get sacked, but he was more inclined to just throw the ball to Fred the Hammer Williamson when he was in trouble than he was to take a sack, Joe Willie. He threw a lot of picks, right? A lot of people debate whether he's a Hall of Famer. What do you think on that, Libby? Where did you ever finally weigh in on Joe Namath? You didn't see his career, though. And you weren't also in love with the guy in terms of, just being one of the great sports figures of all time. Imagine this guy took over New York City, made the Jets the number one team over the Giants, which were the fabled team there for at least a period of time. Jets were getting all of the attention. in New York City while the Giants were going 3 yards in a cloud of dust. This guy's chucking the rock down the field. There's George Sauer. He's wide open. Namath has him. Oh, my God. I mean, it was absolutely great. Yeah, so where do you stand on that? I have Namath in the Hall of Fame just for his overall impact on the game. Never mind the stats.
I don't think, first of all, Sherman Plunkett, I don't think is in the NFL Hall of Fame. So
No Sherman, huh? Okay.
I don't think so.
Is he even in the Jets Ring of Honor, this guy? Come on.
He's in some Hall of Fame.
What is he, selling knishes out on the subway station there at Woodside? What's he doing?
Passed. I mean,
He's dead? Yeah, no. I mean, with that kind of weight, he was probably not long for this earth, Sherman.
He died, he died in 89.
89, wow.
He was 53 when he passed. Yeah. 56. He was a young man when he passed. Look, the Namath thing to me is very much like Lynn Swann. Like, if you look at the raw number, Swann doesn't really match up with the other great receivers ever, but he had big moments in big games, and Namath had the biggest moment in professional football, American professional football history. Like, if they don't win that game, who knows if the NFL ever becomes what it is. Like,
they consider the AFL a joke.
That was huge. And from that point on, the AFL, I don't think it was that exact year that they...
I think Kansas City consolidated the whole thing when they won the Super Bowl in year number 4 of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think
when the Chiefs did that was it. The guys in the NFL said, "Okay, wait a minute, this is too much. This is embarrassing. This minor league is beating us. Let's buy them out
and that was
incorporate them." Yeah,
but that was all Namath, and for him, it wasn't talent or ability. He had injuries, and even then, he still had a decently long career and a solid career. So him, I mean.
He was exciting. I mean, you always felt, even if he disappointed you. I was at that Denver game when he threw the 6 picks in the wind at Shea. And wow, and I was a huge Jet fan at the time and a Joe Willie fan. I'm roaming around the stadium selling my souvenirs on a freezing cold day. And every ball that was in the air, you're like, whoa, look at that. That's going to get picked off. So, he did have a penchant for throwing picks. As we say, threw picks like he was passing up our mitzvah invitations. But, wow, I mean, just a feel for, doing the most exciting things and providing the most thrilling moments. Also, I don't know. I would think Joe Willie definitely deserving of being in the Hall of Fame. In my heart, he's like one of the top quarterbacks ever. And yet, if you look at it, he completed, barely 50% of his passes. But this guy wasn't check down Charlie either. I mean, he was hoisting it down the field there. Maynard and Sauer were always way down the field. And Pete Lamon's a tight end. He even got down the field a little bit. Snell and Boozer were both excellent pass catchers out of the backfield, so maybe that padded his stats a little bit. I don't know. I would think there would be no debate about that whatsoever. Only the most bitter of people would deny Joe Willie his place in the if Bob Greasy's in the Hall of Fame, Greasy, for God's sake, threw 7 passes to win a Super Bowl. Now, Joe wasn't as instrumental in the Super Bowl win because think about this. Here's a guy that's a very pass-happy quarterback, and he's more than willing to capitulate. I mean, maybe Danny Boy could have done some of this. No, but he had no running game.
He was never doing it. He really didn't want a running game. That's the thing that we found out through the years.
Yeah.
He had no interest in the running game.
That was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Like he didn't mind having Kareem and Bernie Parmalee.
Bernie Parmalee, yeah. Was a good guy, man. Real good guy.
Biggs. They were all nice backs.
Biggie gained 1,000 with Marino because they thought he was going to throw on every down.
Exactly.
That was it. Anyway, and Sherm, the reason I brought him up is because he was like the original really fat guy on the offensive line. The guy was huge. He weighed 300. Nobody weighed 300 back then in the National Football League or the AFL. And Sherm Plunkett really stood out. Craig Stadler in golf, one of our favorites, only eclipsed by the relatively obscure Kiridesh Afi-Barnrat, who can be seen. I don't even know. Is he still playing Afi-Barnrat? Do we know? Probably is somewhere in Tunisia. He's on a tour.
Yeah.
I would think he's still competing. He's the kind of guy that might make a dent and some kind of impact on the Champions Tour. No, Kiridesh Afi-Barnrat, if he's old enough.
He's only 33. I don't think. I was like,
17 more years. If he can hang in there and turn 50, he'll be right up there with Phil Mickelson in terms of having an immediate impact on the Champions Tour. You think they'll still even have that by that time, right?
I don't know.
Who's going to go on that thing? Because these modern day golfers have so much money, they probably don't need to do it, right? Yeah. Why would they want to tour around to pick up a $300,000 purse when they're worth $300 million? But would you really go through that? I mean, is it just the love of the game? Is it the old Brett Favre thing? I just love the game. I want to keep playing forever. I'm not sure. I mean, is Tiger Woods going to play on a Champions Tour? No. And this was interesting. I mean, just to transition into a little bit of golf here. But did you see what happened there in that Dubai Classic? Patrick Reed had tried to greet Rory McIlroy on the tee, and he had subpoenaed Rory McIlroy to testify in his. We were talking about this earlier in his defamation case, as he had a defamation of character case going against Brandon Shamley and the Golf Channel because they were talking about Patrick Reed being somewhat of a weirdo. I don't know what they said specifically, but Patrick Reed is known as a weirdo. I mean, he's just an odd character, one of those guys. I mean, you would think he would embrace it, but nobody likes the guy apparently on the tour. I don't think he has any friends. And, he's out there competing, but he's a very good golfer, no doubt. Goes to the Live Tour, spits in the face of the guys on the PGA that, are trying to hold that whole thing together and stave off Greg Norman. Got sucked in by the money. And look, he's entitled. I don't want to be. I don't want to be judgmental about that, but at the same time, who am I to say to anybody, hey, don't take this guy's money, right? Do you always question the source of the money when it's offered to you? Do you always go, well, wait a minute, I can't take that. What happens? I mean, usually, right. I mean, some radio station or television station comes to you right now and says, hey, Lubie, I got, $2 million a year for you. You want to come and produce programs for us? You say yes. You sign right away. And never mind that it's like Al Jazeera. That is trying to contact you. You wouldn't care. Maybe later you might have a moment of conscience and guilt, but at the same time you're cashing these $2 million paychecks. So by then it's too late. And what are you really doing, right? They're going out there and playing golf at all of these Donald Trump golf courses. How interesting is that too? That old Donny boy has got himself a line for 3 tournaments this year with the Live Tour people. What do you think? The cost is there, and how are those arrangements brought about? While he was president of the United States, you think there might have been a few favors thrown the way of the Saudis? I don't know. We don't question anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so McIlroy and Reed. Reed comes over to McIlroy on a practice range, and he tries to shake hands with McIlroy. He shakes hands with his caddy. McIlroy snubs him, gives him one of these, high five, and you missed the guy, and that's it. And basically, as a saying to Patrick Reed, get the fuck out of my space.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't bother me. You know what? You're here. That's fine. I don't have anything to say to you. I don't want to talk to you. You're an asshole. All right. So Reed then shoots a tee towards like a little golf tee. He shoots it, one of those things where you're throwing a tee at another guy, and then you look away and hit a shot. So jokingly, he threw a tee at Rory McIlroy. McIlroy said, I didn't really notice it. But everybody saw this thing, and it was captured on, some kind of cell phone video. And, here's a guy, a pro golfer, actually throwing something at another pro golfer while he's warming up for a tournament. And then it comes down to the wire, and McIlroy has to birdie the last hole to beat Reed by 1 shot to win the tournament. So those two guys ended up, just about in the winner's circle. Maybe that would have been interesting to see those two guys go to extra holes, right? And, have to play it off in a playoff. But McIlroy ended up winning that thing by a shot. Craig Stadler was always a fat golfer, right? Craig Stadler. And yet he wasn't that fat. Fat by golf standards is a whole nother thing. Who else? John Rahm had a little bit of, girth, but, he looks like he's kind of gotten himself into some kind of shape. Other fat golfers, Lubie, can we think of any other fat golfers? No, nobody had rolling fat like Kiradesh Afi-Bonrat. And was there a time here, did you ever embrace this where you were wearing a lot of golf shirts? That was your wardrobe, was golf shirts? Because there were a lot of nice fashionable golf shirts that were very conducive to these extremely hot temperatures that we have here in the schwitzing summer heat. Maybe it didn't show sweat so much, and at the same time, you were unlikely to be as schwitzy and the shirt wasn't sticking to your chest as you're walking around in the summertime. You walk outside, you just took a shower, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. Before you even get to your car, you're dripping wet, soaked. You know those days. And, so these golf shirts were kind of comfortable. But some of them had, they weren't 100% cotton, right? They had some kind of bizarre hybrid polyester in them. And so they were kind of stiff, and if you didn't have the right kind of body type for it, you really look like crap in these golf shirts, which was what happened with Afi-Bonrat. And that's why he stood out, because he had like rolling fat over his pants. And Stadler was nothing like that. I saw Craig Stadler. I mentioned this a few times when he was in Boca Raton there at the old course in Boca, Broken Sound. And I watched him on the practice tee, and I'm like, why did I always think this guy was a fat guy? He got a little bit of a hump there, but that's about it, right? But Barnrat fit the bill. Baseball, right? You had what? Terry Forster, that fat tub of goo, as David Letterman labeled him. I don't know that people would have even known he was still in the bigs until Letterman started picking on him. And he ballooned up. I don't think he was always a big fat guy, but he ballooned up to like 300 and something. And what was humongous was among our favorites. So who else would qualify?
David
Buster
Wells.
Mathis in boxing had like rolls of fat.
David Wells.
Who's that?
David
David
Wells.
Wells. Yeah, David Wells.
Yeah, Wells
Fat
was
guy. Fridge Perry was a very popular fat guy in
football,
sports.
There's like
Stanley Roberts in basketball. Oliver Miller.
Oliver Miller. Yeah.
Oliver Miller, did he not eat his way right out of the NBA?
Yes. He was so heavy that he couldn't make it. Yes.
Unbelievable. So we always love that. I think this is going to be harmful to Daniel Vogelbach. I bet he doesn't hit above 200 anymore. They're going to call him Mendoza line this year. He probably won't even make the whole season with the Mets, but looks great. I mean, you would never recognize it was the same guy. How did he do this? Is this something that he saw in Shark Tank? Because that's a vital transformation. The season only ended, what, a few months ago, Louis? So somehow between October, the Mets were still playing in the playoffs in October. Vogelbach was on the field. He weighed 500 pounds. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about November, December, 2 months. This guy must have dropped 100 pounds. Is that possible, Louis?
Oh,
Surgery?
yes. Guys, you know what I mean? I mean, the way these guys work out, I mean.
Oh, come on, man. Yeah, you try to lose 100 pounds sometimes. Well, you have to have the 100 pounds to lose. But
he's an athlete. He's a pro athlete. Like he's still running and training. So now just eat right. Like it probably was just switching his nutrition. They exercise ridiculous to being a professional athlete.
It is weird too, because there used to be a lot of fat baseball players. Because baseball players didn't even participate in the sport year round. I mean, it was not a year round thing. Working out all the time. They had jobs, right? Yogi was selling like insurance during the off season. You'd see Mickey Mantle washing cars. I mean, it was crazy. So they were less inclined to be in shape. I remember being on the field a few times at Marlins games before the game, and I'm looking at these guys, and I'm thinking, my God, every one of them is like ripped, which is pretty unusual. You didn't think of baseball as having guys that were like super athletic in terms of their physique. Wasn't even encouraged, right? Weightlifting was thought to be detrimental to playing Major League Baseball or baseball on any level, right? Remember, you used to go lift weights in gym class, and then you had like a game that day in whatever baseball organization you were playing in, and you couldn't even swing the bat, right? I was like, ugh. It was terrible, right? You get that lactic acid buildup. That's because it was very infrequent that anybody like me would be lifting weights. That's for sure. It was only under duress and under the demand of some onerous gym coach that we ended up lifting weights. Andy, he does it on his own. Andy, our good friend.
A lifter, right? But that's the thing is like before the steroid era, that was the mentality was you don't want to get too big.
No, you wanted to be nimble.
About athleticism and fluidity and quick twitch and fast. Like it's not about being big and powerful. Like,
and he's got a good one. Smokey Burgess, one of the great pinch hitters of all time, a catcher. Catchers, though, it was acceptable to be fat, right? I mean, you almost had to have a little bit of girth. In fact, I mean, look, that was the old cliche about Little League. I mean, the fat guy is always going to be the catcher.
Yes.
Or, if he wasn't quite fat enough to catch or not brave enough to get behind there with the tools of ignorance, he played first base. And that was it.
Yep.
Boog Powell was another famous fat guy, a very popular fat guy.
Any of these people.
All right, we wish Vogelbach a lot of luck, but I think he's finished. If you wanted to put the kibosh on a career, just lose that kind of weight. Take a look at Daniel Vogelbach. I'll send you the picture. It's starting.
Oh, now? Yeah, I haven't seen him now.
Yeah. Oh, no, it looks great, man. I mean, this guy looks like he could go in a Mr. Olympia competition. It's incredible. All right, interesting stuff going on all over the world of sport. Of course, we have the big game, the Super Bowl, and it's got Philadelphia, Kansas City. The line's at 2. I was reading a handicapper today. This is the guy that usually steers you right into the poorhouse. C. Jackson Cowart, again, from Action Sports, BetMGM. And he loves the Eagles laying 2. Loves the Eagles laying 2. Thinks the Eagles have a huge advantage over the Kansas City Chiefs. Do you see it that way? It's hard to gauge. It really is. There's no head-to-head measurement yet. I mean, and obviously you have the injuries that could impact the Kansas City Chiefs, maybe much more so than the Eagles. But perhaps is the shoulder damage. Here's one for you. Here's a first take type of treatment. All right, you should get Stephen A. Smith and Michael Irvin just screaming at each other, and then who else is on every show now? Dan Orlovsky's on every ESPN show.
and Greenberg.
Oh, and the guy Ryan, what's his name?
Ryan Clark. Ryan
Ryan Clark. He's
Clark.
on every show. Every show. It doesn't matter. They're talking about the Australian Open, and there he is. He's saying, you know what? Medvedev doesn't have it anymore. But they're always screaming. What is that? Why is it necessary to scream a sports opinion to have it be of any
It
importance?
worked at the beginning, but what they haven't noticed is that no one else is doing it, so it's not working now. Like just because it worked then doesn't mean it's working now.
Everybody's screaming. I mean, the entire time. That was in vogue, like in the '90s in talk radio, to just start a screaming fight with a caller, right? Hank used to love to do that. The guy would say, "Hey, Hank, how you doing?" Go, "What? What are you asking me that for? Can't you see I'm doing a show?"
Yeah. I think hung up on my dad and I always tell you that story. Like I wasn't. That's what's funny how I ended up where I ended up because I wasn't a fan of it. My dad was a huge fan, and I never got it. I'm like, how would you drive around listening to people yell? Like I never understood it. I like sports, but I didn't want to hear people yelling about it. And then we were in the car driving back from like Tampa or something, and it was like around Passover, and we hated Fiedler. Like remember, this is after Marino. This isn't after the we've had. Yes, Fiedler compared to the guys we've had was a step up. Fiedler compared to Marino.
Well, I mean, think about that. It's sad to think that until Tua, I guess, and the jury's still out on that.
I guess
that Jay Fiedler. I mean, if you had said that at the time when Jay Fiedler with a bum shoulder comes in here and does okay, it wasn't the greatest quarterback necessarily ever, but that he would be the best guy that you would have at the position over the next 20 some odd years seems unfathomable. It's 24 years now.
Yes, I know.
And you still could make a case. I don't know that you could make a case of Fiedler over Tua at this stage after last season. But you know what? I mean, it's not like Tua has distinguished himself by, projecting this kind of play that he exhibited early in the year over a long period of time. We don't know that he can sustain it, do we?
No, we don't. He can't play a whole season. That's the thing. So my dad called in and I didn't understand the calling in. And he's talking about he can't stand Fiedler. Fiedler sucks. We hang up and put on the radio, and Hank's like, "Oh, what's wrong with those two anti-Semites? It's like it's Passover. Like, how are you going to talk on Passover?" I was like, "We're Jewish."
Doesn't seem to matter. Yeah.
He like hung up on us.
I mean, it wasn't a Jewish thing with Fiedler, right? I mean, he was Jewish. That was kind of cool. If anything, that enhanced his legend as a possible savior post Marino era. No, right? Wouldn't it be nice here in Miami? Wouldn't it be nice to have a nice Jewish boy throwing a rock for you and lead your team to prominence, Super Bowls and glory and championship games? Would have been great.
Excited. He just always he didn't suck. He just always had the timely turnover. Like I remember the Jets. He would always just throw it right at the dude, and I was like, "What are you doing? Like, who are you throwing it to?"
Yeah.
Like, I mean, again, I would take that over Cleo Lemon and John Beck and
greatest Fiedler moment ever though was when he threw that pick late in the game against the Houston Texans when they were in their second year of expansion. Opening day, Miami Dolphins favored by like 15 points or so in the ball game, and everybody in the suicide pools, everybody had the Dolphins because you don't want to be eliminated in week number 1, so you're probably taking, regardless of whatever season-long strategy you might have, you're probably taking the easiest game to get out of week number 1. And that was always my approach to any of those elimination pools, was that just give me the team that is most likely to win this week. I'll worry about next week, because a lot of people won't be around. But I do remember that particular year where I did end up taking down, I think I split the pool with Danny Hertek, the horse trainer, was the other guy that was in the pool that lasted until like, I don't know, maybe week 9. And then we both went out on the same week. But so we ended up splitting the top prize. But for some reason, I had like the Chicago Bears that week, and they eked out a win, like coming from behind, just an improbable victory. And the Dolphins ended up losing on that pick by Jay Fiedler to the Houston Texans, who were horrible. I mean, this was, a Houston team that I don't remember what they were in their first year, but they were recorded 0 chance of coming into what is now Hard Rock Stadium and winning that game. So, and that stands out. And I was on the field. I was standing on the field when that happened, right at the end of the game. And you're like, wow, that's going to knock out. Like if there are 100 people in this pool, 96 are going out whoosh, right this week, the first week. Shows you how difficult it could be, right? Mm-hmm. Those particular competitions just show you how bizarre the NFL is in terms of picking games. But this guy, C. Cowart Schmenkdom, or whatever his name is, don't mean to diminish the guy. He's probably a very nice guy. See, Jackson Cowart, the human Undertaker, says Philadelphia by 2 easily. They cover this point spread. I mean, what are you thinking there, Lubie? For some reason, I don't know why I'm feeling Kansas City a little bit. Maybe it's a huge mistake in judgment on my part, but everybody's going to look at Philadelphia and think, they're probably overall a better team, and all these injuries to the Kansas City wide receivers. Is there enough time for everybody to heal? They would have to bring in Benny Hinn as a team physician. Right? And just every day bow their heads in prayer and think that, if they thought deeply enough about the healing process, that as Benny said, heal, they would suddenly feel better. I don't know.
I was on the Chiefs and the Niners, and then I watched the Bengals, and I thought both the Chiefs and the Bengals are better than the Eagles. And then I watched the Eagles, and they did not impress me. And they've had one of the easier routes.
But the Eagles, had that game under wraps.
Yeah, they didn't have to try, and I get it.
They didn't have to do anything. All they had to do was not turn the ball over and make a giant mistake. Give up a defensive, score. That's all they had to do, right?
In the second half, but people forget, going into half, it was a tie game. First of all, the Eagles could do nothing on offense. The only 2 drives the Eagles scored in the first half was all penalty aided. Justified or not, if you want to say they were justified, fine, because the Bengals got screwed in that second game. I get it, but they were penalty. They called 6 defensive penalties within the 2 drives. Every time they were about to get taken off the field, and they were all ticky tack. They would show the replay, and it was
very minor stuff compared to some of the stuff you see not called.
And that's what I'm saying. The Niners had no offense even then. Purdy was out the first series. So you're playing against a team that can't do anything, and they can do nothing. So that's what I'm saying. The second half they just did nothing. But
they really had a lid on it. Yeah, I mean they weren't doing it squat.
So I don't know.
They knew they had nothing to lose. They're up 21-7, and the other team's not going to score. Yeah,
the Eagles are legit. I'm not doubting them. What I'm saying is, I think the Chiefs healthy are a better team. Now, are they healthy? I don't know. I don't know what Mahomes is going to be. He looked fine through the first half. Then he made that one throw, and he limped the rest of the
he deteriorated back to where he was the week before. By the time they got to the end of the game. Now, and that makes that run even more the stuff of which legends are made. Plus tack on top of it, Osai smashing a guy into the bench while he's out of bounds. And, to Osai's credit, man, did you see that? He stood up after the game and faced reporters.
Yeah, good for him.
That was the kind of thing that you say, wow, I have nothing but respect for that guy, because it would have been real easy to go out right? He had to be looking for the first exit.
Oh, for sure. Brady would have. We've seen Brady just duck when they had to have tough losses. What he suffered was crazy. You brought up a good point, though. He is young enough and he plays good enough where he probably can be the opposite. These other guys had this stuff happen at the end of their career. If they go and win, which it feels like the Bengals at some point will win.
They look like they're going to be around for the next several years.
And Osai is a leader of the defense. You're not going to remember it. You're going to go, okay, it was the Chiefs. I think that's what you remember.
Look, it can happen, right? You lose perspective on where you are. Should you in that spot? No. Is it a mental error of gigantic proportions? Yes. Did it cost you a chance possibly to go to the Super Bowl? A very fat chance of going to the Super Bowl, speaking of fat. It's not like, we had a chance to go to the Super Bowl, but we were lost in week 6 to the, to Carolina. No, this was it. You're going to overtime if he doesn't do that.
And they were, what do you mean? The Chiefs had punted it back to the Chiefs. The Chiefs had gotten great field position and were stuck.
Yeah.
The Chiefs could go nowhere. That was the third time the Chiefs had great field position and could go nowhere. The Bengals were controlling that game at that point. I can't even deny it. They proved a lot to me. The Eagles didn't. The Bengals did.
From the end of the first quarter on, the Bengals were really coming on in that game.
Yep.
It wasn't like a quick, total turnaround, but they had sort of switched the momentum and the vibe of the ball game to where I was, thinking throughout that Cincinnati was going to find a way to pull this thing out of their ass.
Oh, I thought it was.
And they nearly did. It came within an eyelash of doing it. Horrendous mistake, but credit to Osai for standing up in the locker room and answering questions and not being a jerk about it. Very humbly expressed the fact that, he knew he had made a huge mistake. But like you said, Lubie, this is a guy who's going to come back next season, play well. Nobody will remember that. It's not the same type of mistake, even though it cost him a chance. It cost him the AFC championship. in essence. And you can say all you want about, well, no one play decides a ball game. That is true. But at that stage, that one play decided the ball game.
That's what's funny is coaches will always say no one play, but then the coaches are the ones I've heard tell players it boils down to 5 plays. Coaches will openly say, especially in football, it really comes down to 5 plays. There are all these other plays that go either way, but it comes down to 5 plays. Okay, so then you as a coach are saying one play is 20% of the game. Like, that's a big chunk.
Oh, yeah. Well, and in this case, I mean, when it's a game deciding, play, the game is going to go to overtime if he doesn't do that. That's as simple as it can get. And, all of a sudden you got Butker, who's got a pretty strong leg. They might have tried something from even 55, 56 yards out. That would have been a viable consideration. Guess the only negative there is if he misses a field goal with 8 seconds to go, you're giving Burrow a chance to throw a Hail Mary and maybe win the ball game. So maybe you want to protect against that. I would have gone ahead with Butker and tried like a 55-yard field goal. But from 45, you had to figure that this guy was going to be money in that spot. And he made the field goal, and that was it. But a lot of credit to Osai for hanging in there. I wanted to get into this a little bit, Libby. I guess, we'll come back to it. A little NBA, because I know you love talking NBA. And then later on in the program, Ross Tucker is going to come on and join us. Ross Tucker's come around. I mean, he's come a long way from when we first encountered him. He was doing some obscure podcast, and now he's all over the place. So Ross Tucker is going to join us, NFL and college football analyst, and does games, and we'll get into a little bit of the early sentiment. What do you think? Should we take the survey? I mean, what do you think? I would imagine, I'm going to say people are 60-40 in favor of Philadelphia to win this game.
I would go.
There's a romance with Mahomes, though, that doesn't quite exist with Jalen Hurts yet. There's a big romance with Mahomes. I mean, everybody's thinking Mahomes will find a way to maybe pull this out. 2 weeks of rest, though, for that ankle, I would think would be enough to get him to the point where, he's able to kind of comfortably go through most of the game if it doesn't, get re-injured. If somebody doesn't fall on him again or he doesn't pull something. But I would think, the 1 week was a short turnaround for Kansas City with a high ankle sprain.
Yes, and that's the thing. 2 weeks, and look, whatever you want to say, he clearly is in better shape than a lot of people with a high ankle sprain. So 2 weeks, maybe they could do something with him. And the 3 receivers, they never said what was wrong with them.
Yeah, so a lot of ankle injuries. There was a pelvis injury with one of those guys. Who's that guy? Kadarius? Is it Tony?
Tony, former Gator, actually. Who's
former Gainer, former Giant, and now, I mean, he was an instrumental part of the success that Kansas City was having this year. And that guy that came out of nowhere, that Marquez Vontaze Schrank or whatever.
He was actually, he didn't come out of nowhere. He was like the second receiver for the Packers. It's actually pretty good. That guy was great. He was the 4th receiver behind the 3 guys.
He was that whole drive. I mean, that drive to put them to the point where they were up 2013. That was all him. I mean, it was pretty good. All right, so we'll have that with Ross Tucker later on. We'll get into a little bit of NBA stuff. It's kind of weird to see San Antonio get slapped around like the class clown every night. I mean, they're just getting annihilated night after night.
So weird.
San Antonio Spurs, 14-37 on the season under Greg Popovich, Hall of Fame coach.
I don't get and he's clearly not rebuilding them. They're not better. They're worse every year.
Well, what are they trying to do? I don't know. Why is Popovich still around with that team? What do you think?
I don't get that. Like, I'm trying to have Rothstein on the next couple of days, and he's like an old school NBA guy, so hopefully he can answer some of those. Because I thought, and then no one ever and I get it. Guys get to a certain place. Segredo's big on this. They have the right to say when they want to go.
He can do whatever he wants. I mean, I wouldn't argue that.
I mean, it's just like Brady. Like Brady can do whatever the hell he wants. I'm just from a human perspective curious as to why. Like you and I talk about, we do this no matter how much money because we have fun and it's not taxing. But when you have a certain I'm curious why people just keep doing things that obviously take a lot of time and a lot of effort and are stressful. Like every NBA coach or NBA specifically, when they're done coaching, they look like a different human being. Jeff Van Gundy, I didn't know that his face could smile until he became an analyst. Like they're totally like we've talked to football coaches and they're still outside of Jimmy. They're very similar coaching, not coaching. NBA coaches, when they stop coaching, man, Stan Van Gundy's funny. Like, who the hell would know? All he did was yell on the sideline, Stan Van Gundy. But, he's a great conversation, but you wouldn't know it because...
Look at Don Nelson, man. He's smoking weed in Hawaii with Willie Nelson. They're out there farming every day.
Like, it's weird. Like,
that's all they do.
70s, when you have a legacy, like I don't understand. Like
you'd have to think that Popovich is probably in his last year, or maybe. I mean, does he go past this year? Who would want to endure this kind of indignity? Night after night. I mean, they're getting pounded. Lubie, they're losing like by 30 points every night to Detroit.
Not good.
I mean, stuff like that. Yeah.
they're going through a rebuild.
Hard to imagine. I mean, this was a guy that had winning seasons 22 years in a row.
Wow.
Or I guess was it non-losing? He had a winning record 22 years in a row with the San Antonio Spurs. 5 titles, Olympic gold medal in 2020 as a coach. And it was a guy that started out, I guess this was his second job at Pomona Pitzer College. Do you realize how obscure that is? And went and reached this tremendous height. Now he had great teams there with San Antonio. And outside of that one bonehead move, he might have had a 6th title, right? Where he had Tim Duncan on the bench. Because he was doing all of his stupid offense-defense substitutions. And then he got caught, and Chris Bosh gets his only rebound of the season. Because he's got Duncan on the bench because he took him out, and was making all of these clever. I mean, it was like Tony La Russa making a righty-lefty switch. After the guy threw one pitch before they finally, made rules. When you're a coach that causes the league to go ahead and institute rules to stop you from doing what you're doing, you realize that you're playing like a really lame strategy. They did that with Roger Nielsen with the Panthers, right? They stopped that center ice trap. That was it. All of a sudden, they started scoring a few more goals in the NHL. But anyway, yeah, it's weird watching Popovich get pounded night after night. Joel Embiid, I mean, what is the criteria for the All-Star game? I thought, you became an All-Star, and then whoever the captains were, LeBron is one. Who's the other? Is it Giannis?
I think it's usually Steph. I think it's LeBron and Steph.
Okay, I mean, and they pick their own teams, right? And it's not bound by East and West, right? They pick whoever they want.
Well, and this year, they usually do it weeks before.
Yeah.
Now they're doing it like old school on the concrete, where they're doing it the night of, like an hour before the game.
Yeah.
They're going, I want you.
Two sides. Yeah.
I want you. Like you're gonna have like Chris Paul or whoever be like the last guy, like be like the fat kid with the like it's funny. Like this.
You got Johnny.
Be like nervous that they're not gonna get picked or they're
Didn't that suck, right? When your best friend would like shine you on and didn't make you the first pick.
What the fuck you promised?
And you knew you were the better player, and the guy would just go pick some real jerk off.
Some random.
Very insulting. That's a good way to insult NBA players. But then how is it that they have established starters? And if you are going to have established starters, how is Joel Embiid not one of them? This guy is having a season like no other. I mean, did you see his performance the other night against Jokic? He's doing it. He's hitting step back threes. He's hitting jumpers. He's dunking. He's making moves. He's making spin moves, reverse lay-ins, Dr. J kind of stuff. And looks great doing it. Philadelphia's having, I think they're at like a 667 clip. I think they were 32-16 on the season. Yeah, and having a real good year. Even with you talk about enigmatic. What is James Harden these days? I don't know.
Supposedly he's good now. Someone was saying how good he is now.
He's putting up reasonably, good numbers. No, although toned down scoring wise from when he was, getting 35, 40 a game. But I think he had like 17 points and 15 assists the other night in support of an Embiid 47-point performance. Another monster. But I mean, if you're going to name starters for the All-Star game, how is that guy not one of them? I don't want to get into a Skip Bayless type of debate, but I mean, how is it? What criteria did you use? Is this fan balloting that did that? I don't think so.
I don't know.
Now look, you could name a dozen NBA stars and say, yeah, all of those guys are deserving. But if you're just going by, the criteria being what have they done this season, Joel Embiid is like having the best season of anybody, is he not? I mean, you would have to say certainly he deserves to be in the starting lineup in the All-Star game. So what do you do? I mean, if you're LeBron, do you take Embiid with the first pick? And does it matter? Because, by the way, have you noticed one thing consistent about the NBA All-Star game? There was a 0.0 defense being played.
Well, duh. Well, and it's LeBron and Giannis. So you were right. It's LeBron and Giannis.
Okay. All right. I thought I saw that somewhere. Your cat's welcome into the shot.
She's not. I know Sarni loves it. I love her. But then she walks on the computer, and then things pop up that I didn't even know existed.
No.
So she's not. I love her, but no.
All right. Who are you trading for in the NBA? I want to run that by you, Louie. You're a bigger NBA fan than I am at this point. Even though I enjoy NBA basketball. But, I don't know. Regular season is kind of a long, just, plodding piece of drudgery, is it not? And then you never know who's playing, right? If you tune in to see LeBron and Anthony Davis against the Nets last night, guess what? Neither guy played. Now, this wasn't load management, but I mean, is Anthony Davis ever going to be okay? He's already back out with a foot injury.
It's annoying. The 1 year he was healthy was the year that the Heat played him in the finals.
Yeah.
If Anthony Davis was Anthony Davis, he would have another title.
Yeah.
It's annoying. He's always hurt. His whole career, this is his thing. And now he's older. Early 30s.
It's, getting to the point where who's more fragile, Anthony Davis or Tua Tagovailoa?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question.
There you go. There's your question to consider. You can call us up at 954. All right, we have a lot to do here on the program. We're just kind of idly rambling through some things here. And it was always weird. That was a big sports talk issue. Was how do you kill the week before the Super Bowl? The week before the week before. Yes. It was always a tough one. And you didn't want to get overwhelmingly involved into Super Bowl, analysis, matchups, and all of this stuff. And I'm not sure, we can really assess it. Like you said, I mean, how many Chiefs are going to be out or on the injured list for this game? And is Kelsey, if he's not 100%, wow, that's going to be a huge detriment to Kansas City's chances. I just think that Mahomes will be better equipped to run around, and he better be, because the Philadelphia pass rush obviously is one of the main reasons why they're going into this championship game and favored by a couple of points. All right, we're coming back with more. Hialeah Park, a great place to go. Man, I mean, February 24th, that's the new date to circle on your calendar. El Boxeo, Guillermo Rigondeaux, going to be heading the card, and he's a former multiple titleist, has won multiple world championship belts, and a real exciting fighter. The Cuban fans love him. He was, of course, of Cuban descent, came here to the States, and really established himself as one of the greats to come off the island and compete as a pro. So he's going to headline the card. It's a thrilling undercard. I know Leon Margulis and Louis de Cubas have some really dynamite prospects among guys, and they have top-notch guys, and they have some prospects that are just red, smoking hot, and they're going to feature a lot of them on that card. So get your tickets now, man. Get in there early. I suggest you splurge and try to get some ringside seats, because they're not a ton. They're like right there inside, the little security area, where you're right by the ring. But man, if you ever want to see a boxing match from a great perspective, now there's not a bad seat in the house, because the gradual seating of the grandstand, you have a good view no matter what, even if you're in the back row. But wow, it'd be worth it, if you get a chance, if you get in there early and get the ringside seats before they sell out. Get yourself a pair of ringside tickets for the February 24th boxing match at Hialeah Park. The boxing is going to be under the stars, and we always hope for good weather. I mean, that's an arbitrary thing, but I'm assuming it's going to be pretty pleasant out there. That there's a 99% chance we'll be okay. I don't want to jinx it, and yet just a very exciting venue for boxing. Probably one of the best. You know me. I love my old boxing arenas, and I've been to a zillion boxing configurations. I've seen them set up, in the middle of nowhere. Gone to remote bastions in the United States and regions of the United States, and trudged through snow to get to high school gymnasiums to watch world title fights and call them. But I love the atmosphere there at Hialeah Park for boxing. Oh, yeah. Absolutely sensational. So if you want to have a great time, and then you can go in the casino. They don't gouge you. I mean, you go to the concession stands for drinks during a boxing match now. And you're thinking they undercharged you, right? Should I say to the bartender, hey, no, I had like 4 drinks there. And you're thinking, wow, that's just great. Not to hit you over the head with a hammer, because they have you as kind of a captive audience, like they do at a hockey game or a football game, where they're whacking you for like $14 for a beer. They really make it a pleasant experience. That's what they're all about at Hialeah Park. That's why they're so great with the simulcasting in the Champion simulcasting room, the poker that's available to you, whether you're a big-time player, high money, big roller, or you just like to be in a casual game, shoot the breeze with your friends, and maybe even watch some sports on TV. I would imagine too a dynamite place to go for the big game. Would be Hialeah Park. What a place to watch that thing on their screens. Imagine being in a Champions and watching, the big game while you're betting the ponies. That would be the way to go. Yep. Yeah. Got to be some jugheads running around that time of night. When do they start the Super Bowl? About 6:30?
Yeah, 6 something. That's perfect. Out west,
Will the flowers be in the punch at your Super Bowl party by 8 o'clock? Remember when all of the games were atrocious? They were just blowouts, always lopsided.
Yeah, the whole 90s.
It looked like the Hawaii Bowl, didn't it? I mean, where one team showed up and the other team was completely lost. And people would come to your Super Bowl party, and they were all gone by halftime. You were sitting there with saying, "Well, what kind of a mess? Who are these people? These animals that I invited to my house?" Is there no regard for somebody's property if you're at a party at their house, Libby?
I mean, I have it. I don't know if everyone does.
People put their cigarettes out on the couch. I mean,
in college, it was a different story. College,
Yeah.
you were like, through caution to the wind, you would wake up the next day wondering just how screwed up your place would be. But as an adult, I mean, I don't think adults.
Yeah, you would think that there'd be some consideration there. I don't know.
I don't think adults.
The old Deef Mansion used to get trashed quite a bit there, and I was thinking, what's up with these people, man? No respect. Anyway, you can knock yourself out, Hialeah Park. You're gonna have a great time. It's always a great place to go. A lot of jackpots being won in the casino, which is right up there with anything that you would find anywhere. Vegas, Atlantic City, Monte Carlo. I mean, they really do a great job there. Steve Calabro, a brilliant guy. Frankie Fiore, and all of the good people there. They make it a heck of a lot of fun and a great experience, and they really care about their patrons. So get a player's card when you come through the door. Gigantic rewards program, always giving you extra stuff and all kinds of freebies and considerations. So get that player's card when you come through the door, and you're set up, and you're going to have a great time every time you visit beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, we're coming back with more. I'm Jeff DeForest. That's Mike Lubie Lubitz. Thanks for tuning in here. South Florida Live. 12 o'clock today, we will come back with the Mike Mayo lunchbox. We had to scratch. You were literally a vet scratch at the gate, much like Andy was for our Vegas trip for the 70th celebration. Yes. Vet scratch at the gate yesterday.
Yes, it was,
how was your urgent care experience, would you say? How would
it was fine. It took a little longer than I thought it would.
Was there nobody ahead of you and you still had to wait an hour to get in there?
There was like 4 people there and we were there for an hour, yes. I'm just not a litigious person. And my first reaction is either do nothing and just worry about my car, or in this case, because she was sore, worry about her health.
Yeah.
We went to a place that did every test known to man, did all these things known to man, and then even asked her if she had an attorney already, meaning like the place is set up to do all the things you need to do so that you can do a suit.
They will find brain damage somehow.
It's weird. That's what, and then they sent us to a physical therapist who wanted to do MRIs, wanted to do therapy 3 times a week. And it's like, okay.
Oh my God. Wow.
She was walking and like she was sore, but it was like, what is going on? Like,
I'm not one to want to pursue like a futile thing. I mean, even with the broken toe at Atlantis, I don't know that there's a case when you're tripping over something that's in the water. Should it have been indicated? I believe so. Should somebody have said something like "watch out for the rocks" as you're heading right towards them? I might think the lifeguard might have said something like, "Hey, be careful out there. Watch where you're going because there's a bunch of rocks." But no. Did it inhibit me and knock me out of a couple of months worth of activity? Yeah. Is it going to heal up? It seems like it is. I have another appointment there today, but I don't know. I mean, even if it had been worse, I wouldn't have been. It's not necessarily my thing. You try to just shake it off.
That's just who I am.
Car accidents are different, though. I don't know. I mean,
I'm open to doing it, but what I'm saying is, like, I would have taken her to a hospital. And again, it was smart because this way it's all through car insurance and it wasn't her fault. Whereas if you go to the hospital, maybe through your insurance. So it was smart to do what we did. It feels icky to me. Like, it's like they're there to try and get money that I'm worried about her health. That's my focus. My wife's okay. Like I'm not.
Oh, it's amazing they wanted to do it because usually they don't want to do any extra stuff.
Every test. She had an X-ray. I'm like, I don't think you have broken bones, and X-rays don't do anything with joints.
Yeah.
What would an X-ray do for you? I'm like, I don't even understand. Then they want to do MRI. I'm like, again,
MRIs. Wow.
I'm like, and these are expensive tests, and it's like, well, their insurance pays for it. It's like, yeah, but okay.
Well, they would like to do it because their insurance pays for it. Exactly. I mean, whether it's necessary or not, they don't care that you, eventually have a case. Although it's kind of interesting that the urgent care center would be set up to be a trap.
Oh, it's a special. It's one setup for car accidents. It's literally an urgent care for car accidents. Like everyone had been in a car because when she started talking to them, they didn't even ask, "Why are you here?" They're like, when was your accident? Like that's the first question.
Where'd you find this place, man? That sounds like a real scam, doesn't it?
We just look for urgent care that handle car accidents because we wanted to have it be quick and swift and someone that would understand and be able to get us in and out. Yeah. We wanted this to work yesterday. Like,
did they recommend any attorneys to you? Did they have?
I heard when I was sitting down, I heard them say, "So who's your attorney, or do you have an attorney?"
Wow.
And I was like, "What?" I was like, "What is going on?"
What a world, man. I remember one time I was at a red light and I had been discussing this with some friends of mine about what to do. Some guy rams into you. And what we had decided that no matter what, no matter how minor, no matter how unimpactful the collision was, that the move was to just fall out of the car onto the sidewalk and start moaning, right? So I don't know. I was probably inebriated at the time in terms of marijuana consumption, but no, certainly was fine to drive. And a guy just barely bumps into me at a red light in Hollywood, Florida, and so I do it. I just figure I'm just gonna fuck with this guy because I wasn't happy that he wasn't paying attention, that he bumped into my car anyway. So I look in the mirror. I see this guy in a Cadillac, and I open the door and I just fall out of the car. And the guy now becomes overwhelmingly concerned, right? It turned out he was a doctor. And I thought, how far should I carry this hoax? Should I act like I'm actually hurt?
Defo.
And then I look, at the bumper, and there's not even a scratch on the car. So I just said, look, I was only fucking with you. But next time, put your phone down. And I don't even think this was pre the cell phone era. So
Yeah.
I don't know what was distracting him. But there was, you know how you're looking in the mirror and you say, man, that guy behind me is going to ram me here.
Yep. You actually catch it. Yeah, that's the thing. Because surely this happened to her, and she was caught off guard. She was like on a phone call, hands-free, on a phone call, watching forward because she's on a ramp. So she's focused going forward. And then she felt something, and she kept going. She didn't realize she was hit from behind. I have seen people go, oh, this guy's about to fucking hit me.
Yeah. No, it's horrifying. I mean, I look, back in, look back in anger. The whole John F. Kennedy thing, right? Wasn't that his book? Look Back in Anger. Was that Kennedy? I don't know why I want to connect Kennedy to that. Who wrote Look Back in Anger? I don't know if he wrote it, but he was associated with it. I don't know. Was it like about Kennedy?
It was like 40.
Check that out for me, Lubie, because it rings a bell, and yet at the same time I can't put it together. But I mean, I'm always looking back in anger, there, thinking, "Oh my God, what is wrong with these people?" And then it's always young girls.
Yes,
that are, I mean, they're not even. I mean, looking above the dashboard ever. How is that? I mean, after all of the stuff that's been out there about the damaging effects of texting and driving, and the chances, I mean, are increased exponentially. Remember, did you have this when you were in? Did you have driver's ed in high school, or do you have to go take like private lessons in Florida?
It's funny, they didn't have it as a standard class, but they had something offered in the summers that would give you money off insurance. That I did take. I took one summer class at after my freshman year.
Right. I mean, the thing that stood out. What's up?
It was virtual. It was like some fucking computer thing. Like I never got behind a car. Like it was the stupidest. And the game,
a simulator
driving. Yeah, it sucked. That thing sucked.
Well, I mean, I actually found it effective because a couple of things stuck out to me because I used to show these films while you were driving the simulator in the driver's ed in New York, and whatever the most surprising thing that could happen would be that could occur. That would be what happened on the film, and you would have to react to it. Okay, so you knew if you saw a ball roll into the street that there was a kid to follow.
Oh,
and actually, like a lot of that stuff in terms of defensive driving and being passive aggressive or whatever, it kind of stuck with me. Because I'm always anticipating like the worst possible thing happening. Not that I'm paranoid while driving, but especially now. I mean, oftentimes the worst possible thing does happen, right?
100% in South Florida. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. You're in the middle lane. A guy blows by you in the left lane. Another guy goes zooming by you in the right lane. Then they both decide they're going to move into your lane ahead of you, and they collide in front of you. And you have to be ready for anything, right? I mean, in anticipation of just the worst possible disaster. Not fun out there around the roads. I'm thinking about moving to some rural place just to avoid driving on 95. What do you think, Lubie?
A lot of 20 cigarettes.
Could I survive there? I don't know. I don't think so. No, I need action. All right, Ross Tucker is a late scratch on the show, so we won't have that conversation, but we will get into just about everything else. And, and probably, I don't know, is it starting time to, get some kind of opinion formulated on the Super Bowl? Right now, my lean would be, and it's a stupid one, but for some reason I'm leaning towards taking the deuce with Kansas City and hoping they win the game outright. I'll be rooting for KC in the game. I do like Mahomes. And not that I have anything against Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts is a good story.
Great story.
But, I think Kansas City is and I'm an AFC guy anyway. So
I don't want Mahomes to get in that Aaron Rodgers cat. Like the start of his career is freaking amazing. but he does still only have, and it feels weird to say it for a 27-year-old, one Super Bowl victory. And as we know, Marino, Andy Reid's getting up there, right? Like at some point, Andy Reid's going to end it, and maybe that's why Bieniemy hasn't gone anywhere else, because maybe he knows he's going to be the Chiefs coach. But there's nothing to say that Bieniemy is going to be Reid. So who knows what happens with the Chiefs without Andy Reid? So to me, while Mahomes,
you think they give Bieniemy that job? I mean, this guy's been
I think eventually
passed over for 100 jobs so far.
The professor and I were talking about this. Like, he doesn't understand how Bieniemy's not even mentioned anymore.
Yeah.
And he said something, and he's right. He's like, unless the Chiefs have already said, look,
it's your job. Yeah.
Just don't even interview. Stay here. You're going to get paid well. You're going to be well.
Yeah.
You're going to have Mahomes. We're going to sign Mahomes. Don't go anywhere else. Just don't interview. Because they don't even interview Bieniemy anymore. Like it's gotten really, he could suck, and he's better than any candidate that's out there. So it just feels like he's the head coach in waiting, which they don't do in the NFL. But to me, if you're Mahomes, you got to win now. Like, you need get that second Super Bowl, and then you're ahead of a Manning, because Manning's second was bullshit. You're ahead of a Breeze. You're ahead of a Rodgers. Like, from this point on, it's all legacy for Mahomes. Like, Mahomes is a fucking Hall of Famer. Like 5 years, like he's a Hall of Fame. Like the shit he's done, no one's done. So I don't want him to get, and I like him. I don't want him to get in that category with, the Brett Favres and the Rodgers, where they're great, but he's ridiculous, that guy. So I'd love to see him win now, and then the rest of his career just be adding, like Brady did.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that you could look at either side and say this is a runaway. So, Kansas City has a real, a tendency to always allow the other team back into the game, even in games that they're controlling. I mean, look at what they did with Cincinnati. First quarter, it's 110 yards to 0. 0.0, man. They put up a Blutarski in the first quarter, the Cincinnati Bengals, and they're right there in the game, which I don't know why. I mean, that's been a tendency of Kansas City's all throughout the season, letting teams just hang in there.
Yep.
And they don't seem to put those 45-3 beatings on anybody like they did a couple of years back when they were really, really rolling. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here on the Defo Show. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll take you up until 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock today, Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. And then we start a series of road visits with the Lunchbox on Wednesday, tomorrow. What it'll be, shenanigans, and then wicked cheesesteaks, and then, I don't know. I mean, is Mayo going to show at Gulfstream Park?
I don't know. That whole thing was really weird. I first wanted to laugh at him. And
don't you report that to the FBI? I mean, this guy is actually threatening, Mike Mayo.
Well, and the guy is threatening, if you do any kind of research, it's a guy that's a big believer in guns. So we live in this world now where people don't have a second fear. And the last 3 shootings were all older white men.
And this is all because, he wouldn't let this guy's question about, what do you put on a peanut butter sandwich, bananas or jelly? But let's eat stuff. But think about what the world has come to, right? I mean, if that's enough to piss you off, to the point where you're issuing actually bodily harm type of threats, I'm going to find you, seek you, out and kill you. He didn't say that. But what does he want to do? Just get in his face? I mean, what do you think? He just wants to yell at him?
I mean, he's going to drive all the way to Gulfstream Park to just tell him, give him a talking to. I mean, it was pretty threatening and sort of scary. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Do we go undercover there? I mean, could I be mistaken for mail?
It's a long time. We've never had, we've gotten stupid hate mail, but no one's been threatened. I've never gotten that.
Yeah. No, it's always interesting to read, the thoughts of some of these psychotic people that, feel like they're doing you a favor by pointing out what's wrong with you, and that you're really an asshole, and that they hate everything that you do. And then, the old adage is in the business, well, then why are you tuned in? You could do almost anything else with your life except spurn all of this negativity. But, I've seen some stuff. There's been some scary stuff. I remember when I had a stalker, and all of a sudden, letters started showing up in my mailbox, and I'm like, "How did they figure out where I lived?" And sure enough, there was my name in the phone book, right, with the address and everything. But nothing of any serious nature ever happened. And usually, when these people, they're so hostile and they've had nothing but ugliness to say about you, usually when they finally meet you, it's like, "Oh, yeah, it's so nice." It's like the old thing I always talked about with the Don Shula show. Yep. Where, everybody was, screaming. Shula was having not a particularly good season. And they're screaming, well, why won't he take calls on his show? Yeah, he won't answer any questions from the fans. So Don Shula capitulates to taking calls from angry callers on the Don Shula show that I'm hosting on the radio, WIOD, back in the day. Don Shula is going to take calls. Now think about that. And every call was, "Oh, Don, you're so great. We can't thank you enough." I mean, I was like, wait a minute. Where's all this hostility? Everybody was screaming at the guy who was ducking. Unbelievable. Oh, how about that? All right, this is good. Chris Perkins going to join
And
us.
we should do show guest list, but I'd rather not. There's a lot going
Ross
on.
Tucker, a late scratch.
The Fangio thing is now done. It's only the Dolphins could like have reporters announce a hire.
Oh, it's not happening?
Artificial. Well, you don't do Twitter. There's been new elements attached to this story where Fangio himself hasn't said it's done.
Yeah.
And if they haven't officially reported it themselves. And the Niners now are probably going to lose DeMeco Ryans as their DC because he's probably going to get the Texans job as a head coach.
Yeah.
And Kyle Shanahan's really close to Vic Fangio. So the Niners are set to win a freaking Super Bowl. You know, the Dolphins aren't. So supposedly there's been a monkey wrench thrown into the whole thing where the Dolphins still are set to probably get Fangio, but it's not automatic anymore.
Be sort of embarrassing if that didn't happen.
It would be so Dolphins. It would be very supposedly Stephen Ross and Jed York hate each other. So York, just to screw Ross, supposedly called him and it was like, hey, you know, Fangio, we're probably going to lose our guy. We're this close to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Let us give you an offer first. It's like, oh, okay.
You know, everybody was applauding the move as if this was just a major score. So it wouldn't be uncommon or, you know, lacking in, you know, being embedded with Dolphin tradition to have this thing blow up in their face and make them look foolish. All right, Chris Perkins ain't going to be in there for Ross Tucker, who was more of a national presence guy. But Chris Perkins, of course, perfectly capable of helping us with any type of analysis whatsoever, including things about life. So we'll continue the Defo show here in a moment. Now that.
The time.
8:09. Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Mr. Pentangeli, were you a member of the Corleone family? Did you serve under capo regime under Vito Corleone, also known as the Godfather?
I never knew no Godfather.
Mr. Pentangeli, you are contradicting a sworn statement you previously made to me and signed. I ask you again, sir, here and now under oath, were you at any time a member of a crime organization headed by Michael Corleone?
I don't know nothing about that. Oh, I was in the olive oil business with his father, but that was a long time ago, that's all.
We have a sworn affidavit. We have it. Your sworn affidavit that you murdered on the orders of Michael Corleone. Do you deny this confession?
Look, the FBI guys, they promised me a deal. So I made up a lot of stuff about Michael Corleone, because that's what they wanted. But it was all lies. Everything. And I kept saying, Michael Corleone did this, and Michael Corleone did that. So I said, yeah, sure.
It's now time for the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Jeff DeForest, we got Michael Lubie Lubitz, Chris Perkins of the Sun Sentinel. He's the main guy. I mean, he's the chief Miami Dolphin reporter for the. I mean, what is he like?
Miami Dolphins columnist. He's the Miami.
Yeah, he's got a distinction that goes beyond like just being a beat writer.
Yes.
So and well deserved too. I mean, it's a guy that's been a good guy and been around a long time. South Florida sports journalism, gone on a national scene. Used to cover a lot of boxing. Chris Perkins used to see him on the boxing circuit, and of course, well versed in virtually everything. And comes back around. Just when he thought he was out, they pull him back in, and becomes the Dolphins columnist. And what was yet another, you would have to say, overall, season for the Miami Dolphins. Wasn't, I mean, it was exhilarating at times early on, and then it became sort of ponderous. And then you're asking yourself, so how much progress did they make by going 9-8 for a second year in a row? New coach, new talent. They went ahead and spent all of that draft capital that they had to improve the team immediately. And yet, 9-8, my friend. How do you spell mediocre? 9-8, or it goes either way. 8-9, mediocre. That's what they are. All right, Chris Perkins is going to join us though, and we'll talk about some of those things. And the Fangio story certainly is, an interesting one with this new wrinkle that he may not come to coach the Miami Dolphins defense, and that was going to be an interesting dynamic. Now, nobody better to talk NBA trade with, and the trade deadline than Mike Lubie Lubitz, correct?
I would say no, but Scoop's
probably.
All
right, so who's at the bottom there? I mean, Toronto's going to trade people that are of value, right? And everybody wants this, is it OG Anunoby? Everybody wants this guy. He's a top target for a lot of teams.
He's still young and can do a lot of things.
Apparently, he's a top-notch defender of three-point shooters on the perimeter, and also is capable of knocking down shots.
Yes, he's
OG Anunoby.
The three, he's like would be one of the top guys on the Heat's list. The Heat need a perimeter defender to take pressure off of Jimmy Butler. Caleb Martin.
Would Fred Van Vliet be a better option at point guard than Kyle Lowry for the Miami Heat?
Oh, well,
that's not being talked about much. you mentioned John Collins coming to the Heat. I mean, is it true, Lubie, that they probably have more chance of getting Joan Collins?
I guess
to play for them. Yeah.
The Hawks want a lot. The Hawks want like a Rudy Gobert kind of trade, and Collins hasn't even done. Like Gobert, for as one-dimensional as he is multi-time All-Star, Defensive Player of the Year. Like Collins isn't that. Collins is a nice player, and he's sort of been bogged down in that team because they have a lot of guys like him, but he's not worthy of some freaking monster trade. So,
unless his game had tailed off significantly, why would Jay Crowder be available from the Phoenix Suns? Jay Crowder, a lot of conversation. I don't know. I guess this was local sports talk I was listening to where everybody's, getting all excited about Jay Crowder possibly returning to the Heat. But Jay Crowder was also instrumental in the success of the Phoenix Suns as they went to the NBA Finals, even though they ended up choking that away against Milwaukee that year. Remember that? They were up 2-0, and it looked like they were on cruise control.
6 years ago.
The Bucks looked completely beaten. I mean, and out of it. And didn't they come back and win the next 4?
Yes.
In that series? Wow, that was ugliness.
Yes.
I remember ripping a friend of mine, as he said, now's the time to unload. I was in Las Vegas when they were up 2-0, the Phoenix Suns in that series. And a buddy of mine, Piscataway Ray, said, now's the time to unload on Milwaukee. And, of course, I said, well, what are you, out of your fucking mind, Ray? I mean, I'm the one that's in Vegas. I mean, if you want to wire me some money out of your own pocket, sure, I'll bet Milwaukee for you. And sure enough, they ended up sweeping the next 4, which you probably could have made a fortune on. And it didn't look like that was going to be the case. But Jay Crowder wasn't he a big part of that whole thing?
He was, but they're struggling this year, so I think they're trying to do the thing.
They've just won 7 in a row, though. I mean, I think they're on a 7-game winning streak, the Phoenix Suns.
I don't know.
And I'm not sure if Booker has come back into the lineup yet. I haven't really looked at the box scores, but I'm pretty sure I saw on a crawl last night that was Phoenix's. They beat somebody pretty badly. What was it, San Antonio? And that was their 7th consecutive win. So they seem to have righted the ship with Ayton, who was in the doghouse, right? I mean, what a strange organization, huh? Ayton, who was a big hero during their chance to, where they surged towards a championship, all of a sudden became dog meat like earlier this year. They were ready to unload him. But anyway, is Jake Crowder available, and is there a reason for it? Because you would think that if Phoenix was surging again, and they have to feel that when they have Devin Booker at 100% back in the lineup, that they're going to be a factor. Although Chris Paul has been hit with a haymaker from Father Time. Chris Paul.
He's old. He doesn't look Kyle Lowry old because he still is averaging almost 10 assists, but he's not the second best player, at times best player on a championship contender at this stage of his career.
I believe this guy signed with this team as a free agent now and as, trade material. Bojan Bogdanovic.
Yes, that's the other guy that he want badly.
Wow. I mean, and he would be a good guy. What made him sign with Detroit? I mean, what was he thinking? They were a young team on the come? I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, we pretend to be mind readers here on the program, but was it just the biggest money offer? Bojan Bogdanovic.
Yes, because remember, every team has to spend a certain amount of money, and not every team is desired. So, whereas Bogdanovic would help a winner, winners can't afford to give him $30 million. Like, winners have to pay their stars, and Bogdanovic is a notch above average and below star. So, but if he goes to a crappy team, he can get star money.
Yeah.
So the Pistons, no one's going.
He'd be an asset for the Heat, no? I mean, all of those things that Duncan Robinson was supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Plus, he has a better mid-range game than a lot of the three-point shooters.
He's not totally a liability defensively, and he's a really good scorer. Like, he's super underappreciated as a scorer. Like, whenever he plays, he dominates the Heat.
I want to say, a high percentage shooter. I don't know what his shooting percentage is, but seems like every time you see highlights, now naturally in the highlights he's not missing any shots, but that he's making a predominant number of the shots that he takes, and and in a different variety, right? I mean, you have some guys that are just stationary 3-point shooters. That's all they do. Remember Bowen, right? Bruce Bowen.
Put it this way:
stationary 3-point shooter.
He's averaging 21 a game. Now I get it. When you're on a bad team, someone has to score.
Yeah,
I understand, but he's averaging 21 a game on almost 49% shooting from the field.
Yeah,
and
he's a good shooter.
42% shooting from three. That's better than anyone outside of Bain.
And it's not like he's inside a lot. So that 49% represents, a very, very accurate shooting percentage.
Yes.
The kind that, used to be the measuring stick, was the barometer for me. I mean, when I see guys shooting 34% for the game and they had 31 points and you're like, what? That's garbage to me. All right. This is old school mentality that you should be shooting, even if you're an outside shooter, somewhere around 50%.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're a chucker. No?
100. Yeah, for sure. Efficiency. Yeah. That's the whole thing. It's efficiency.
By the way, I mean, okay, so all of that is happening. I mean, what do you think? Are there going to be moves made that are of significance towards the trade deadline? And who do you think is going to, be the most aggressive there, Mike Lubie? You're hoping it's your Miami Heat, who seem to be at least, and this is going to be cliche, personified, a piece away from being a championship contender, my friend. There you have it.
The right piece. I mean, I don't know if any schmank, I don't know if Jay Crowder's making them a contender.
Yeah, like Shaq in his prime might be a piece.
I mean, like a Bogdanovic actually makes them, to me, right around those other 3 or 4 teams in the East.
All right.
The Lakers supposedly are going to be very aggressive because they're trying to hold on to dear life that they can maybe make a move in the West. I don't know.
If they have LeBron James and Anthony Davis at good health, they have enough in supporting cast. It may not be the most illustrious. They do have Westbrook. He's turned into a functional, asset for him, although he's on the trading block, supposedly.
They need shooting.
And then he just picked up this guy from the Wizards, the Hachimura guy, whatever his name is.
He's a big. They need shooting. They need
shooting. What was the name? Sikahima.
Rui Hachimura.
The Eagles return man, Vai Sikahima. Remember him punching the goalpost there? That was great. All right, we're coming back in just a moment here, and we have to tell you about Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill and what's going on down there. It's fantastic. And Lubie's still working on the finalization of what would it be? I mean, nailing down the date there that we're going to go down.
I'm thinking sometime near mid to end of February.
All right, so it's this month. I mean, that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. I need to get down there and relax a little bit and, kind of shake off a few things that are happening in my life right now. Not that it's overwhelmingly oppressive. I mean, look, every day is a good day because we had guys check out like Bobby Hull, who I always thought Bobby Hull was a good guy, man. Where did I go wrong? Did I not read any of the material about his post, hockey career?
He was a jerk. I don't know. I've never heard much about Bobby Hull.
Numerous spousal abuse accusations, fairly serious nature, where criminal charges were going to be filed, and then a cop that tried to intervene in one of his episodes, he pummeled him. And then some very unflattering commentary. Well, I mean, I guess it was they were flattering commentaries, but they were about Adolf Hitler in some German newspaper. Not the greatest thing. I mean, this is Conway, yes, Kanye West, I guess is the new thing, personified. Where we're saying Hitler had some good ideas, and that there's too many black people in America. Not favorable viewpoints, but not uncommon, I guess, among hockey players. I mean, they had to really be, far off to Tilda the Hun, obscurity to the right, back in those days. But I met Hull a couple of times. He actually seemed like a really good guy. And wow, what a slap shot. So what do you do? Do you forget about the guy's brilliant career because he seemed to be kind of an asshole outside of it?
I mean, sort of.
Yep.
Like the OJ thing is weird. OJ, it was
OJ, murdered. Two people.
I know, and I'm not saying Bobby Hull. There are grades of being a scumbag, and I get it, but it does dim the light on what was a bright career.
Right. I mean, and the guy was around forever. I mean, ended up with his sons playing, and then was with the Hartford Whalers. But his main thing, I remember watching Bobby Hull when he was in the 6-team league. As a kid, I guess 1961, the Blackhawks won the NHL championship. There were only 6 teams in the league, so you saw a lot of these guys frequently. If they were even if you only got that one Ranger game every 2 weeks on WPIX, you still saw a lot of everybody in the league. And Hull was amazing, man. He would take a slap shot from the red line, and he and was it Stan Mikita, I think? Stan Mikita and Bobby Hull with the Blackhawks. They were the first guys with the curved sticks. And there were no parameters or guidelines as to how much curve you could actually have on the blade of the stick. And so they were literally throwing like knuckleballs up there at the goaltenders at 115 miles an hour from 50 feet away. It was great. So a lot of fun to watch as a hockey player, but apparently not exactly a mensch when it came to being involved in humanity. Maybe it was too many pucks to the head. I don't know. All right, we're coming back with Chris Perkins. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, though. We want to get down there. That's going to be a lot of fun. Also, Cindy Williams checked out, right? Laverne and Shirley.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she was, considered to be a brilliant comedic actress. Laverne and Shirley, a #1 hit show for many, many years there with Penny Marshall. And as an offshoot, right, from the Fonz and Happy Days. So she also passed away at a fairly young age. Hall was 84. I think she was only like 74.
Oh, wow. Sucks.
I've only got to July to get to 72 here, Louis. I'm going to have to just continue those walks of life.
Yes.
By the way, do you like the haircut? Look a little better? I was a little shaggy.
I know you've been wearing hats. I'm like, when does Defo wear a hat? I'm like, oh, he must be worried about his.
And the hair was getting really bent out of shape there.
You look good, and you look really good now. You look young, sir.
Didn't want to make an unkempt appearance there on, those outdoor shows there with Mike Mayo with the wind blowing and everything. Plus, I mean, you know what's weird when you see your hair after it's been cut, and you're old like me, and you got your hair literally looks. Remember, you'd see it on the floor in a barbershop, and you go, "Wow, look at that, man! Thick,
that's a lot of hair." Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now it looks like an old carpet that you would find in some fixer upper. I mean, was that a shag carpet you had in there? Yeah, I think so. All right, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, My Marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. Great place to chill out. We're going to have a lot of fun down there. Hopefully we'll be able to bring the whole crew. I don't know if we're going to get everybody together, but we'll try our best. And certainly an essential will be Mike Mayo for the Italian Fisherman Pizza after all the conversation we've had about that. Although, I don't know. I mean, can you do this? Speaking of Mayo, I wanted to bring him one of these Rock and Jake pickles.
Okay.
But, if you take it out of the refrigerator, I guess you could wrap it in tin foil, right? Silver foil?
Yeah.
Okay, because I I don't know. He'd probably make a face initially, but I think he would actually like him.
Okay.
Rockin' Jake putting out his own
Well,
brand pickles.
We're usually at restaurants. So outside of Gulfstream, if you did at one of the other remotes, like they have fridges. So
well, I mean, by the time I schlep it down there, yeah. I mean,
but still,
maybe a half hour out of the fridge. That's not too bad.
No, if you put it right in a fridge, it'll be fine. And you don't even need.
Well, no, I'm going to give it to him right away. I mean, what? We have to
small.
encourage Mayo to eat? No.
That's one thing we don't have to do.
That's something. Rarely will you see us in the corner there, like Lou Duva, going, "Come on, kid, you can eat this. One more bite. That's all we need, and we got it. We got what we worked for." Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, though. I mean, you can shake off all of that kind of anxiety and tension and just relax and have yourself a great time. Great food and drink. A tremendous place. I mean, if you're watching the big game there, I would imagine they're going to be packed for that. Tiki bar is fantastic. The atmosphere is great. The sunsets are beautiful. The music is dynamite. All kinds of different things on the menu. Everything from those pork nachos, which were world-renowned, to the finest of seafood and all the different pizzas they have that are custom-made there. Dominic and Jemmy, his wife Amanda, they do a wonderful job. You're going to love it. You're going to love the vibe. You're going to love the good time. And it's a great place, coming or going, in and out of the Keys. Mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. All right, coming up with Chris Perkins in just a moment here. On the Defo Show as we return in a moment. Now that. You think Perk will come down and help us guard Mayo? I just don't want him to get caught up in one of those things, where, you end up catching like a bottle to the, the head as the guy swinging beer bottles at Mayo. It's 8:28.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752. Would you go into court without an attorney? So why would you go up against an insurance company without Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa? 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Give them a call at 954-809-8752.
This is another guy that I think is doing exactly what he set out to do. I bet if you go back to his elementary school yearbook, if they had one, not only was the editor and publisher, but he probably made the statement, you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to be the #1 featured guy on the Miami Dolphins beat after a sensational career with a very diverse background in various sports coverage aspects, what with the Sun Sentinel and many other newspapers. The great Chris Perkins joins us here on the show. Chris, how are you, my friend?
Defo, at my age, I think my yearbook was done with a piece of granite and a chisel, right? That's how far back my yearbook goes.
Enjoy your trip to work with lots of laughs thanks to Defo and Lubie. Now on the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. And we have a last-minute substitution here. Not that we would ever put this guy into a secondary consideration, but kind enough to join us here as we had a scratch on our guest list today, on our guest roster. And then Lubie, was this a last-second call, Lubie? How did this come about?
I
Last
was
second call.
like, I've been wanting to have Perkins on anyways, but we don't have a lot of time. So
Yeah.
I saw it opened up, and I'm like, good. I'm hoping we get Perkins on to talk about all the craziness with the Dolphins.
All right, and he joins us right now, the aforementioned and the Dolphin columnist with the South Florida Sun Sentinel, and a man certainly well-versed in all matters of the National Football League and other things on the sporting landscape. Chris Perkins joins us here on the show. Chris, thanks so much for doing this. Pinch hitting, man, like Daniel Vogelbach for the Mets.
That's right. He's got a little weight on me, but yeah. But
He lost it all. We were talking about that. He dropped like
pounds.
100 pounds, this guy, in the last 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Man.
Are you a fan of the fat guy in sports? We love the fat guy in sports. I mean, we mentioned some of our favorites in conjunction with this story, but do you have a favorite fat guy, Chris Perkins?
Well, Oliver Miller was a favorite.
Miller, yes.
And then we can, we can go back to Kerry Forster. Do you remember the pitcher?
Forster,
David
that
Letterman.
fat tub of goo, yes.
The fat tub of goo.
Right.
Exactly. But
Forster was enormous,
Nate
man.
Newton, of course.
Yeah.
Right. He was, yeah. And Nate Newton with the Dallas Cowboys back in the day. He was like 340 when he first reported to camp, and that was like back in those days. That was, oh my gosh,
right.
This guy is huge. But everybody loves the fat guy in sports.
Roberto Duran, Ricky Hatton between fights.
Roberto Duran.
I mean, we're unrecognizable. I mean, it was fantastic. And of course, I know you're a big boxing fan, but who could forget those rolls of fat on Buster Mathis Sr. When he stepped into the ring, even with Olympic glory, in his background. All right, and settle an argument for us, a little sports talk debate that's been going on for the last 23 years here in South Florida, Chris, if you will. We touched on this earlier. Was Jay Fiedler the best post-Marino quarterback with the jury still out on Tua Tagovailoa? Could you say, is it a fair statement that Jay Fiedler so far has been the most accomplished NFL quarterback that has played for the Dolphins since Dan Marino?
Oh yeah. I don't think there's any question. And
no question.
The guy went. Well, I mean, he got the playoff berth, right?
Yep.
That's kind of how we have to judge it. I think that Ryan Tannehill was a better quarterback, but Fiedler had a better team around him, and believe it or not, Fiedler had a better coach with the staff. Dave won that. So. I think you have to say so, but I think that Ryan Tannehill is a fairly close second, and then to me, there's a pretty big gap after that. We'll see what Tua is able to accomplish, but I guess he's got the one playoff appearance, so he's gaining ground on both of them, but he's got to stay healthy, obviously.
Yeah, which is a huge question mark involving Tua Tagovailoa and the future of the Miami Dolphins, who ended up. Very similarly as they did the year before at 9-8. So not a whole lot of progress was made in spite of all of the changes that were made. All right. Is it real or Memorex? I mean, what's going on with this Vic Fangio story? Is he coming? Is he going? Was it all bullshit? What do you say, Chris?
You know what? Just being optimistic, I think there's room for everybody to be correct. And so we saw that ESPN and NFL Network have reported that the Dolphins and Fangio had agreed in principle or agreed to terms. And then Mike Silver reported that he talked to Fangio and Fangio said nothing is done. And so I think there's a window where everybody is correct from the standpoint of agreed to terms. That's like an oral commitment in college football, right? Guys, it's not done until you sign that letter. So with Fangio, it's possible that they have agreed to terms, but he's still listening to other offers because he hasn't signed a contract with the Dolphins. That's what I'm thinking, Defo. But you know how the Dolphins are. They might have leaked this thing before it was actually done. So who knows? Who knows with the Dolphins, Defo? That's the whole key to this, is that you can see it just going off the rails because it's the Dolphins.
Yeah, I was thinking, holy Bill Arnsparger, man. I mean, this is the kind of guy. I mean, maybe Arnsparger will end up being the guy. They just have the carcass of a deceased, man on the sidelines. But I thought the move, it sounded good because you have the young coach in McDaniel, and then you get the old salty dog, stodgy old NFL mainstay in Vic Fangio, who, regardless of what people thought about his head coaching tenure there with the Broncos, which was weak, certainly well respected as a defensive coordinator and thought to be one of the gurus in that category.
Yeah, and look, this is a defense that needs a new look because you can't play the same way that you played with Brian Flores, or even the way you tried to play last season, which was using those cornerbacks to shut down everything. You didn't have Byron Jones last year, obviously, and Josh Boyer, the dearly departed defensive coordinator, kept trying to press and play man and play that same style. And, after you've lost Byron Jones and Nick Needham, the slot corner, it's tough. Cater Cole, who the undrafted rookie turned out to have a pretty good year playing alongside Xavier Howard, but they needed to have a little more diversity in their game, and they didn't. They kept trying that same style. So with Fangio's defenses are usually led by the front seven. The Dolphins were playing a defense that was led by the secondary. This defense, we think this defense will be led by the front seven, Christian Wilkins and Bradley Chubb, who just got named to the Pro Bowl. Not sure if I agree with that. He did have 8 sacks, counting his sacks in Denver. But yeah, Christian Wilkins and Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips and Zach Sealer and Landon Roberts, the front seven, and that pass rush, if Melvin Ingram comes back, the Chubb, Phillips, Ingram pass rush, that will be the lead, I guess the tip of the spear, so to speak, for this defense. That's what Fangio will do. Now, you still need to upgrade talent-wise. But, yeah, I think that Fangio would bring a totally different style of defense to this Dolphins team, and a style that I think fits their personnel better, by the way.
Well, Perk, it's funny that the defense has been the story the last week or so because of the Fangio hiring, that people actually were giving the Dolphins credit, which is rare, for that higher home run, grand slam. Again, not terms you hear when the Dolphins usually make a move. So, of course, it would sour. That's as Dolphins as it gets. The story all season was Tua, and by the last quarter, his injuries. The concussions, now we're a month and a half away. It's sort of, they're not playing, so the story went away. But, of course, it was reported last week that Tua is still in concussion protocol, which for me, I was like, okay, I don't care either way. They're not playing. Like, what is the story there? But supposedly people made a story in the sense that, how is he still in the protocol? Why is he still in the protocol? I've heard people with sense say it's not that hasn't progressed, that he's the same where he was. It's they're being very cautious. 2 concussions in a month and a half, 3 concussions in 3 months. It's not that he's stymied or anything like that. He's doing fine. You cover the team closely. What was that report? What does that mean? And how is Tua, from what you've heard, progressing?
Man, Lubie, that's a very good question. There's a lot of levels to that. Yeah. First of all, the fact that Tua is still in concussion protocol, I think it is, I guess, a little troubling. Guys usually aren't in concussion protocol for a month. However, the Dolphins did have a tight end, Stephen Carter, this season, who got a concussion in the opener, and he never played again. He sat out the whole season. Yep. They had another tight end, Hunter Long, who got a concussion, and he was out. I want to say Hunter Long was in protocol for about 3 weeks. So with Tua, it's you question, why is he in so long? But there's precedent for it also, even on the team, and the Stephen Carter precedent is not a good one. The guy missed the whole season. But really, I'll tell you this, Lubie, my bigger thing is, why did the Dolphins leak this story? Like, what do they have to gain? Are they showing that they're totally behind Tua and they're giving him every opportunity before they go after Tom Brady and they their hands and say, well, we gave Tua every opportunity we could? Or, like, what do they have to gain? Like, are they showing that they're being really cautious with Tua? Like, I don't understand, and I don't know that the Dolphins leaked it, but I would think that they did. I just don't know what's their angle in leaking that. That's something I can't figure out. Usually, if it's an agent or the team, or, if there's some news about, just say Byron Jones or whatever, you could kind of figure out what the news is, which side it came from, and why. This Tua thing, him still being in concussion protocol, I believe the report. I'm wondering the why. Why is this? And the other part of that was that the Dolphins are not going to pursue Tom Brady. That was the other story that was leaked the next day to ESPN. And so, are they building some case that we're totally behind Tua? I wonder about the why, not the actual reporting, but what does somebody have to gain by leaking these 2 pieces of information to instill in protocol, and the Dolphins don't intend to pursue Tom Brady.
What happened, man, after Harvey Green left the organization? I guess he's still around in some kind of emeritus stature. But they might have the worst PR, I mean, of any team, including going back to that Tim Tebow celebration there with the Denver Broncos many years ago when Tony Sperano went Red Sea defense in the fourth quarter and allowed Tebow to continue his pro career. Otherwise, I think he was going to be cut right after the fourth quarter of that ball game. Are you aware, Chris Perkins, that Rihanna will be the halftime entertainment at the Super Bowl?
I am, and only because I read it yesterday. I really know everything you need to know about the Super Bowl. So I read that. I was like, oh, okay. I never watched the halftime show. I can't tell you the last halftime show I watched, but it might have been the equipment malfunction of Janet
Jackson. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I never ever watched.
Are you covering the Super Bowl? Are one of you guys covering the Super Bowl?
I'm not.
Okay.
No.
Okay. All right. I mean, and it's always an adventure. I mean, I would imagine now as a writer, how different was Radio Row for you? Because I mean, it was the same kind of gathering, a lot of press conferences, a lot of people available. I want to say, I would imagine that these people that were touring Radio Row and doing radio and television interviews also made themselves available, at least in some kind of mass press conference format, to the printed press. Now, did you get involved in a lot of Super Bowl coverage, and what stands out to you about it?
Oh, Radio Row was great. I think I've done 5 or 6 Super Bowls, although I haven't done one in a long time. I didn't do the last one in Miami. I was having surgery 3 years ago. So, but Radio Row was just Defo. You remember Radio Row?
I always had a good time. Yeah, always.
People. I love it.
Their handlers are taking them from table to table to promote the product or promote the person. And if they've got 15 minutes between interviews and you're a reporter, you can just walk up to them and talk to them, and it was great. I mean, you could have seen anybody from Jimmy Carter to Hulk Hogan or Mr. T.
Exactly. Yeah.
Everybody, but you remember those things. Yeah, they were great. I love Radio Row, the old school Radio Row at Super Bowl. Great thing.
I guess, that was the way to approach it, now that I think of it, because you used to see some writers, especially, the most prominent would be Barry Jackson, kind of leaning in from the second row of people behind your interview there and sticking a tape recorder in. That was always great. And then, you would try to grab the guy before he went to the next radio show or whatever his next destination was to be interviewed by electronic media. And like you said, you'd be sitting there talking to, all of these giants of both the sporting entertainment industry and just about anything else that were available and walking around. Now, what are your thoughts? I would imagine you'll be zeroed in pretty heavily. What exactly is the Pro Bowl going to be this week? Because, I mean, there were times that, I used to bet on the Pro Bowl. I'm ashamed to admit this. Even at Gamblers Anonymous meetings, you will not find people admitting that they bet on the Pro Bowl. Here you are, ready to come clean, ready to come to Jesus. I mean, you're standing in front of Joel Osteen, and you say, well, did you ever bet the Pro Bowl, DeForest? Oh, no. I never did that.
It's not a real problem
here. Yeah. I mean, that's a problem they can't even cope with there. Yeah. So what do you make of what's going on here? Flag football game. Of what distinction is being part of the Pro Bowl festivities this week?
I don't like it at all. I never watched the Pro Bowl either. So, but I hope that this is a 1-year experiment. I just don't understand how a flag football game is going to be interesting for. Like, if you're a lineman, like, what are you thinking? Like, okay, this is a free trip to Vegas, but I'm wasting my time out here in this game. Just give me a skills competition and let me go home, or let me spend time with my family, or let me put $80 on Black 13 or whatever. I mean, so I think the skills.
Is that your number, by the way? Because that's my number also, 13 Black. Is that what you play on the roulette wheel?
No, I actually just made that up. You know what? I'll tell you a real degenerate story. I'm a 0-0 guy.
Wow. See, I'm not.
So you got no chance of winning. When it hits, you're really happy, but you just feel like
everybody's looking at you like you're an asshole because everybody else is all over all of the other numbers. They're on black and red, first, second, third. Portion of the board.
0-0, the green. Yeah.
Green. house advantage. It's you're playing with the house, Chris.
Oh yeah, right. Exactly. I'm helping them build their next $1 billion.
Yes, yeah. You're paying for the light bulbs.
Yeah, right.
Great.
Exactly.
So what happened? You hit for a big amount of money there?
What's that?
You hit for a large, substantial amount of cash?
No. The last time I was there with my girlfriend, and she hit for. She was playing the video poker at a bar.
That's my addiction there. But never play at the bar. Never play at the bar.
I don't ever play at the bar, but she hit for like $2,000.
Oh, play at the bar then. Yeah. You'll have another White Russian while you're at it. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. But that is one of my rules for Vegas. I don't play at the bar. I don't play that video poker, and sometimes they have you can play 8 different games. You can play blackjack 21 and all that kind of stuff.
Keno.
I don't do that, but she made it work.
Yeah, they have variations of Keno that nobody can understand, except if you know anything about odds and probability and what the payoff should be. When you look at the payoff key, on those games, it's nothing close to what you should be getting in already an impossible-to-win situation. So, but at the bar, I mean, you go there figuring, hey, I'm going to stick my card in the machine there. I'm going to put a 20 in and nurse that, to get a free drink.
Drink for free.
So now, you get your free drink. You throw the bartender a $5, and so you've already paid $5 for a beer that you probably could have bought in the store for $3, and then you blow through $60 while you're sitting there at the bar.
Exactly, and that's between wasting $300 to $500 at your next date. So that's great. It's an ingenious place, isn't it?
It's a rough go. All right. What do you mean? What are they trying to do here, though? And dodgeball, long driving competition. And now, is that this week? I mean, are they doing that the week before in Las Vegas as a prelude to the Super Bowl?
Yeah. This is the whole no contact, because you know how players were dropping out of the Pro Bowl at a record rate.
I don't blame them. Who would want to play him? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, right. You had 8 quarterbacks walking around the next year going, I'll make Pro Bowl. Give me more money. Let's renegotiate my contract.
Yeah.
6 guys dropped out.
Who was the guy who was a running back, I believe, with the Patriots, and he tore up his knee playing frisbee football. Yeah.
Yeah, Robert Edwards got hurt.
Robert Edwards, right?
But it was on the beach, so I guess that was what they would say. But yes, it was a flag football, and the end of he was never the same ever. He was a beast.
Flag football for the old timers would be good. If you're filming a commercial for some hair growth product, with Brett Favre.
Didn't baseball try a softball game at the old timers once, or am I imagining that?
They always do. Yeah,
is that a bad dream of mine?
No, they do.
Yeah. Could be. I don't know, but no, there was never really, like you said, a ton of interest in the actual game itself. And to see the way it was played, it was probably. Yeah. I mean, of all the All-Star games, I mean, the NBA All-Star game's a disaster. I don't even know if they play an All-Star game in hockey anymore. I think they do the same sort of thing that they're doing here.
Is this week?
Yeah.
That'll be it. So, all right, and that's a prelude to the Super Bowl. Now, the stories, what storylines? Obviously, Mahomes' ankle. Did you cover that Super Bowl with Dwight Freeney, where the only build up to the Super Bowl was whether he was going to play down here, Chicago, Indianapolis?
Yeah.
Oh, you might.
And everybody was. I mean, that's all. Every question was, "How's Dwight Freeney? Is he going to play? Is he going to play?" So that would be story number one. The Jalen Hurts thing. I don't know. Is he hurt worse? Is he in worse shape actually than Mahomes is with the bad shoulder? Because he didn't do much in this last game to make you think that wow, he's 100%. What do you think about the matchup first of all? And what is your thought? On the outcome of the game.
I love this matchup, and one reason that I love it is because I'm a guy who thinks that the quarterback position is overstated in the NFL. It's not overrated; it's overstated.
Okay.
And so what I liked about San Francisco was that they were winning, whether it was Trey Lance, Jimmy G, or Brock Purdy. Now they can win the 4,000 there. But and then we see Philadelphia, and they're able to win by running the ball to a large extent. And so these are teams where you don't have that Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady back there at quarterback. but you're still capable of progressing into the playoffs and possibly winning a Super Bowl. And, you know, look, a couple of the Super Bowl champs that I like from the last few years, I might have said this to you guys before, the 2015 Denver Broncos, you know, the no-fly zone defense.
We remember that well, yeah.
Peyton Manning had some injury problems. He missed like 7 games. Brock Osweiler
He was useless.
started.
He was in a wheelchair coming off the bus. I mean, he needed assistance.
So that team won the Super Bowl with 19 touchdown passes and 23 interceptions. And then you go to the Philadelphia Eagles of 2017, where, you know, Carson Wentz starts off and he's got 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Looks like he's going to win the MVP. He gets injured after 13 games, and Nick Foles comes in. Nick Foles is not a good quarterback, but they still won the Super Bowl. So the team wasn't built around a single quarterback. They were able to keep winning despite some shaky quarterback play. And, you know, Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts has not had shaky quarterback play, but he's not Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady. This is a team, Philadelphia, right? They have the run game. They have the defense. They can throw the ball. So that's what I like about this Super Bowl matchup is that, you know, you've got the superstar quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. On the one hand, I would like to see him win because then we can keep that, you know, is he the next Tom Brady discussion going? He's got a couple of Super Bowls. He's 27 years old. Could he catch Brady? But on the other hand, I would like to see Philly win because, you know, that sends to me, if you have a team to win in 2015, 2017, and 2022 that didn't have that franchise quarterback back there or that guy performing like a franchise quarterback, to me, that opens up possibilities to how you want to build your team going forward. That, okay, we don't have that franchise guy, but we've seen from the Broncos and the Eagles twice that you can still win a Super Bowl. So, you know, I would like to kind of see that message. And really to that extent, you know, when we're talking about team building and how you want to approach it, you know, I'm down here in New Orleans about to drive to Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl.
Oh, yeah? Wow.
Have they've got the 2nd round pick and 2 third-round picks. So I'm going to really be looking at, you know, some cornerbacks because, you know, they need another cornerback. I'll be looking at some running backs. I'll be looking at some offensive tackles. I'll be looking at some inside linebackers. So, you know, we'll see how the Dolphins, if Philly wins, and that becomes the case of, okay, maybe it's not necessary to have that franchise quarterback. We'll see if that influences the Dolphins and how they build their team. And, you know, maybe Dick Fangio believes it. maybe he'll buy into that case. Who knows? But
Did you say you're in New Orleans?
He's in New Orleans, yes. He's in New
Orleans.
I was in New Orleans late last night. Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't get out to Bourbon Street or any of the fine, you know,
Mardi Gras wedding
places to eat?
Next 2 weeks.
Last night? Are you sticking around? Oh, you're driving right out of there today to go to Mobile? My God.
Yeah. It's about a 2-hour drive. It's not bad at all. Hour and a half. I did go down to Bourbon Street last night.
Okay.
So I went down. I got in here at about 10. No, yeah, about 10:30, and then went down there and wandered around. It's even more depressing on a Monday night when nobody else is down there because at least when there's a big crowd, you feel like, all right, I'm part of something.
Part of a parade.
Monday night, Monday night you just feel like a degenerate alcoholic.
Yeah.
Somebody down there, bunch of bad music, some homeless people. But you know, I did enjoy myself, so I don't know what that says about me. Actually, I do know what that says about me. I'm a degenerate.
You are degenerate. That's fine.
My favorite thing that is most emblematic of the experience is the vomit that covers that ATM machine when you first turn off Canal Street there.
Yeah, right.
And you make that right on the Bourbon Street, and now you still have to walk up a block to get to anything like Acme Oysters or Felix's or any of that stuff. And then, but there's always vomit covering that ATM machine, which you would never think to use anyway, because there usually are any number of suspicious-looking characters hanging around that area too. All right, great stuff, Chris Perkins. We'll let you go, man. Have a nice drive there to Mobile. Jim Sarney was asking earlier, your buddy Jim Sarney and ours, who are the Dolphins looking at the Senior Bowl? So you've addressed that,
yes,
which is good. So we've actually answered the question.
I would say corners and offensive tackles would be to me, they're going to be the priority because they have to, like I as they have the second round pick and 2 third-round picks. So
Yeah. How blind are their scouts, by the way? Do their scouts have German Shepherds? I mean, yeah.
Seeing eye dog.
Man, over the years, they've made some serious
they're just calling them
blunders.
service dogs nowadays, people. But
Yeah.
better scouts than some of these guys, right?
Yeah. You're asking a guy if the dog was a rescue, because you don't want to insult him because, obviously he only has it because he's blind to, any kind of potential talent that he might be able to uncover. All right, Chris, we love you, man. Thanks. Thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it. Always great having you on.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Thanks.
When is a story not a story? Huh? This Fangio thing? That used to be a big thing when everybody was obsessed, especially Hank Goldberg, with taking credit for breaking stories. Remember that? And this was a thing going on in especially sports journalism, if you'll call it that. In the 90s, where everybody wanted to be the guy. Well, so-and-so is reporting, right? And I remember having to follow a couple of stories that were reported about the Miami Dolphins that had no foundation in fact whatsoever, that were being reported by various people. And then, you go on the air there with a talk show like that evening after this news is broken, and everybody's like, well, what do you know about that, DeForest? I'm like, I know nothing about that.
It's bogus.
And they're like, well, geez, you're not doing your job. Ned Smith had it on Channel 6. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, if it's true, then, congratulations to him for figuring that out. But and then it would turn out to be like completely false. I mean, like no chance of ever happening. Denials coming, from all directions, and you're saying, well, I mean, everybody's obsessed. It's still, ESPN likes to take credit for everything that happens, right? Somebody else was reporting this, but they confirmed it. Remember, that was a big thing with
yes.
Hank Goldberg has confirmed.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so we called somebody and said, hey, is Joe right about that? And the guy goes, yeah, he's absolutely on the money. Okay, I confirmed it. Great. What was that, though, Lubie? I mean, somebody, usually this news hits everybody about the same time, right?
That's the funny thing. It did a resurgence with Twitter. So that's what just totally, at least then it used to be journalists trying to be journalists and be right and break news. Now they just want to break news. And if it's right, it's right. If it's wrong, it's wrong. It doesn't matter. Like, that's why Schefter breaks like 7 things a day. He doesn't care if it's right. It's like insane.
No, and you can't remember. He breaks so many things that you have no idea what some of them are. It's never anything, overwhelmingly significant, is it? Like we know for a fact that Aaron Rodgers is going to Las Vegas. It's there may be a possibility that he ends up with another team. Yeah, of course, right? Marino said that. And they made a big, fucking deal about it. It was unreal. Right? Danny wants to be traded. That was the headline in the paper the next day. All he said was, I might want to go to Minnesota. All right. We're going to see you at 12 o'clock today. We will have a Mike Mayo's lunchbox. I'm glad Shirley turned out to be okay. We were very concerned about the length of time it was taking to come up with some kind of viable diagnosis. But if she's fine, that's good. Was she back in the car today? Did she have to drive back to Miami for whatever?
Oh, no.
No? Okay.
We need to take her car in. But she drove home from the thing and was okay. She just
all right. All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, we're glad to hear that. And we'll see what kind of condition Mike Mayo's in later on today, 12 o'clock. It's always curious. You just never know with this kid. That's a great thing about it. So we'll see you at 12 o'clock, Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next time. Tomorrow we got Tony Segreto going to join us for a little old school. And then Thursday we'll have the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. Friday, a Degenerate Friday. And then it's off to the races once again. We'll see you next time as we leave you now that.
The time.
It's 9 o'clock.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
With the to my show.